Welcome back to the prediction side of LMP Talks Wrestling. Today we're back to predict WWE SummerSlam as the wrestling world heats up for a jam-packed weekend of good old wrestling. Friday Night SmackDown starts off with a go-home show for SummerSlam and has WWE premiering in their new location with the debut of the Thunderdome. On Saturday, we have NXT TakeOver 30, and AEW will be starting at a special time due to NBA schedule conflicts. Be sure to check your local listings so you don't miss any of the action. And finally, we'll have WWE's annual SummerSlam event inside the newly made Thunderdome, and it has produced quite the interesting and intriguing card. But back to help me get through the predictions and filling in for my co-host James is my partner in crime, Artie. How's it going today?
Oh, it's going quite well. I'm very excited for the weekend of wrestling we have ahead of us.
Yes, there's quite a lot to watch, and as reports are, we'll have lasers and drones, pyro, virtual fan interaction, and supposedly it'll be a bigger showcase than WrestleMania at the Thunderdome.
We're talking about the WrestleMania just passed. It's not terribly difficult.
That is true, but reports are from Kevin Dunn that it's going to be a bigger spectacle. My goodness. Than WrestleMania. So we'll see. I just saw a video of what it looks like. It kind of looks like a dome version of the SmackDown stage, but then you can also see a bunch of screens all scattered around the dome. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but it's going to be pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I've had a look at some of the pictures as well, and I can tell you that hanging structure above the ring, all the stuff they've got strung up there looks quite impressive.
Yeah, there's also reports that they're going to use the roof above the ring as projections too. So, like for example, we'll see other people's entrances, but we'll see the images on top. So I'm very, very intrigued. It'll all kick off on SmackDown. But before we get to SmackDown, let's tackle the predictions for WWE SummerSlam. Now, if more matches get added to the card, I'm sorry, we're recording on a Wednesday. We can't wait for WWE to come up with all the matches for SummerSlam. There are currently 8 matches, but I suspect we might get a SmackDown Tag Team match, and we might get the Intercontinental Championship added to SummerSlam as well. We have Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles for the IC title on Friday night, but who knows? That could end in shenanigans, and then it could end up a triple threat or another match. I don't know, something rather. But draw a line under it, and we will focus on the predictions for SummerSlam. So starting off, I'm going to go the Universal Championship, and we will work our way down. So the first match, singles match, Universal Championship, Braun Strowman versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Now this feud has been a little confusing at times, but it's also very intriguing, and Braun Strowman seems to be getting better on the mic each week. But The Fiend is certainly as intriguing as always, and with Alexa Bliss being added in there, I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I am hoping The Fiend walks away with the title. What about you?
I'm definitely gonna toss my vote to the Fiend as well. Ever since Bray Wyatt started the Fiend character, I've been a big fan of it. Not always utilized the best in certain instances, but this little back and forth with Braun Strowman, kind of calling back to some of the older stuff with him. You know, again, some of it's hit or miss, but it's been pretty entertaining the whole way through, and I'm definitely hoping Bray Wyatt walks away with the championship.
Yeah, this is also the anniversary now. I guess it's been a whole year since The Fiend debuted in WWE. He debuted at SummerSlam last year against Finn Balor, and he had the whole world buzzing. And now we're going to see what happens. So now, if Braun does win here, where do you think this will go now? Because we want The Fiend to be a top contender, but we also don't want him to be jobbed out like the previous Bray Wyatt. And of course, he's not in that area yet. But we've had the 3 faces of, I guess, Bray Wyatt, as you can say, the regular or the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt. We've had the Swamp Bray Wyatt, and then we have the Fiend Bray Wyatt. So, what do you think?
If Bray Wyatt were to lose, I think there's not a lot of ways that it would make sense for that to happen. One potential way that I think could work, but I think it might be too soon, would be the Money in the Bank.
Yes, we have Otis as Money in the Bank. Wouldn't that be something if he came out and cashed in on either Braun Strowman or Bray Wyatt and walked away with the title? That would be something very, very interesting. So the first prediction of SummerSlam You're picking The Fiend, and I'm picking The Fiend.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the WWE Championship over on Raw, we have a singles match between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Now, this feud has certainly heated up. I'm not a fan of Randy Orton, as most of you know who have tuned into my previous podcasts and predictions, but it's very intriguing. And I say that word a lot in this podcast, but Randy Orton getting his 14 championship, I think it makes sense in this predicament. Now, I don't know, I do know Edge is on injury, but I don't know when he's going to be able to make an appearance back, and I don't know if there's going to be shenanigans. I have no idea, but at this point, I feel it could go either way. Like, if Randy Orton does win the title, it completely makes sense, regardless of how I think of the wrestler himself. I think this is going to be great. I think this is going to be a very intriguing storyline going forward. If Randy Orton wins, and also if Drew McIntyre wins as well, I think we'll have something else. I think maybe we'll have Drew versus Randy Orton again, maybe at Payback, because there's a pay-per-view right after this weekend once again. So who knows? But I think it could go either way. I'm digging with what happened with Shawn Michaels. I'm digging with what happened with Ric Flair. That promo was excellent with Ric Flair and Randy Orton. Who do you think?
I think Randy Orton is going to win with shenanigans, and then they're going to have some sort of rematch at Payback.
There is a rumor about Ric Flair not actually being hit because the Retribution, the blackout happened and nobody actually seen him got hit. But also we could chalk that up to nobody wants to see a 70-year-old man get punted in the head who's had a lot of recent health conditions. So it all makes sense, but wouldn't it be something if the dirtiest player in the game said that Retribution was ruled under him?
I think it would actually make a lot of sense, as much as WWE can make sense. But they've been so random with the Retribution stuff, and it doesn't, on one episode they're doing all this crazy stuff, and the other episode it's just like childish weird things, and they're just all over the place.
Yeah, they certainly are. So I think I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to pick Randy Orton just to see what happens. What about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely Randy Orton, and I think it's going to be a shenanigans win.
But to be fair, I mean, again, if Drew McIntyre does win, that's great. I've been loving his championship run, and hopefully now that even if we have some virtual fan experience, we'll have more of that championship feature that they want Drew McIntyre to have, because he's been on deaf ears for the most part, unless you had the NXT wrestlers in the audience. So we want the fans to interact with the championship, and he hasn't had that reaction since he won the title. So maybe that's what they're betting on. I have no idea, but it's The Fiend for the both of us and Randy Orton for the both of us.
I definitely do still want Drew McIntyre to win this, but I think WWE is going to have Randy Orton win it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Raw Women's Championship, which is Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Now, this is Asuka's first title match of the night because somehow, in some way, the MVP of the PC era now has two title shots for the Women's SmackDown Championship and the Raw Women's Championship. Now, I honestly think Asuka will beat Sasha Banks right now. And I only say that because of Sasha Banks' track record, and I also think it makes sense for Bayley over on SmackDown. I think Sasha will go after Bayley, so maybe Bayley will accidentally cost Sasha the title, and then Sasha Banks will get mad at Bayley, and then they'll implode then, because a lot of people have been thinking they're going to implode for a very long time, and it has not happened. So, Sasha's track record for defending her title at a pay-per-view, I believe, is 0. I'm pretty sure she's never defended that title successfully at any pay-per-view. She's only defended it successfully on Raw. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going for Asuka in this first match.
I have to go with Asuka. Asuka's my girl. I want her to win, and I want her to do that dance, and just, she is such a good entertainer. Aside from being a good, wrestler, she is a great entertainer. She always puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, that Money in the Bank match with her going ooh around the friggin'
and then dives into the elevator.
Yeah, it goes into the elevator and comes out, runs around. Yeah, she was making me laugh so much, and it's just, that's the greatest thing when you're laughing at the screen and you're just enjoying it. Doesn't matter what happens, they make you laugh, and that's the whole point of wrestling. makes you have a good time, as SmackDown would say. So we're both voting for Asuka for this one. How do you think it'll go, though?
I do think that Bayley is going to try to help Sasha out, in air quotes, and something will go wrong, or she'll pull something at the wrong time, and it'll cost her the match for sure. All
right. Well, that makes us go on to the Asuka versus Bayley match for the SmackDown title. Now, do you think Asuka's going to walk away with 2 titles?
I certainly hope so. Right now, the whole pay-per-view, Asuka is definitely my favorite of everyone. I 100% want her to come away with 2 belts. I'm uncertain that she'll grab the second belt, but I'm definitely hopeful. I'm definitely going to pick her for the second belt as well.
Well, I am picking Bayley for this one, so we finally change our votes. We're now different, finally. I as I said before, I think Bayley will retain this championship because of her and Sasha Banks. I think Sasha Banks will probably win the SmackDown Women's Championship because Bayley has technically beaten them all. But except Sasha. She has not beaten Sasha Banks. And Sasha Banks beating Bayley would be great. I think it would make sense. Have the blue championship on the blue girl. On the blue brand. She's got the hair for it. She's got the whole look for it. She's changed her entire look. That Raw Women's Championship, red is not her color, as Asuka would say. So I do think this will shape up the feud for Bayley versus Sasha. I don't know if it'll be at Payback because apparently we have them defending the tag team championships at Payback as well. So I have no idea how far this will go, but I cannot see Asuka winning both titles and walking away. Now, even if she does, that's cool too because it will not make Bayley and Sasha look weak. As long as they make those tag team championships relevant and look good, and keep winning with them, then they'll still walk away as winners. They don't have to lose both main championships to look like they're losing or look like jobbers or look like they're having a bad time. That doesn't have to happen here. So it all depends on how it's booked. But yeah, I think the only title that Asuka will be walking away with is the Raw Women's Championship. Moving along to the United States Championship picture, we have Apollo Crews versus MVP. Who do you got and why?
I think Apollo's going to retain. Just because of the whole, having to face him by himself deal.
Oh yes, but Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley are banned from ringside, to those who do not know. I think Apollo Crews might retain too, but it could go either way here. I think again because if MVP got the pin on Raw on Monday, or he took the pin from Apollo Crews. So when usually the week before the pay-per-view, if someone loses, then they usually get the victory at the pay-per-view. I have no idea, but it was very, very strange for Apollo Crews to pin MVP in the ring with no shenanigans, clean. So it makes me wonder if MVP will retain. So I guess maybe at the start of this I thought Apollo Crews would retain, but just to be different, since you're saying Apollo Crews will retain, I'll go with MVP just to shake things up a little. Well, that was an easy one. So next up on the card, we have the Raw Tag Team Championship. Now, I'm not sure if the SmackDown Championship will be added or not, but we'll see come Friday. But as for now, it's the Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza in a whole poisoning act with Zelina Vega. Now, first of all, I don't know why there's police not running around these places. I mean, first we have Sheamus allegedly trying to kill people, murdering, or not murdering, but running off with, or running over Elias, I should say, putting him in the local medical facility and all that jazz. And the police didn't do anything except Jeff Hardy and him just had a fight, and then that was it. Sheamus just ran people off the road, and that was it. And now we have Zelina Vega going around poisoning people, and nothing's going to come from that. The security of WWE can't even stop thin people in hoods from Retribution coming in. But putting all that aside, we have the Street Profits. I think they're going to be retaining. I think that the Street Profits will retain here with the morale boost that Montez Ford has now, because he seems to be pretty angry and he wants to get his comeuppance against Zelina Vega, Angel Garza, and Andrade. So, do you think that they'll win the championships from the Street Profits, or do you think the Street Profits will retain?
I think storyline wise, it makes the most sense for the Street Profits to retain, just strictly because of the previous shenanigans and the whole poisoning nonsense, and it really only would make sense for them to retain in this match.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if they'll have another shot at Payback, or if maybe a third person will get involved in here. But I can't see the Street Profits losing right now. I mean, I know they've been pushing Andrade and Angel Garza as a single or as a tag team picture, but I think I would really like to see just Angel Garza and Andrade go on their own, even if they had a feud for a few weeks themselves and broke up. Then I mean, I know we need tag teams right now in the division, but I feel there's a lot there for Andrade to go solo. I mean, yes, he had the United States Championship before, but Angel Garza, their former Cruiserweight title, had an excellent matches in NXT with that. So I know they can do amazing things by themselves. But who knows where this will go. But right now, I think the Street Profits will retain. Now, moving on to the street fight between Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio, if that's what they're calling him now. This is going to be an interesting match. We're going to have Murphy on Rollins' corner, and we're going to have Rey Mysterio in Dominic's corner. Who do you think will win this between the two?
This one's kind of a tough one, just because it's his first real match. Aside from all the other random shenanigans and getting beat with the kendo stick. I think just specifically because of how bad he got beat with the kendo stick, and man, those pictures are just brutal. I think he's gonna win. I know it's his first match, and it's against Seth Rollins, so it's like a big hill to climb. But I just think for the storyline, it makes the most sense for him to win, sort of get that vengeance for his family kind of thing, and then for how bad he was beat the week before.
Yeah, that completely makes sense, and I would be on your side if it were any other wrestling promotion. But at the same time, this is Dominic's first match, as you said. Are they really going to have Dominic beat the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins? I think it was 5-time world champion, possibly. I can't remember. Are they really going to have this, I guess, quote-unquote jobber come in and beat him? Unless shenanigans are there, right? Murphy gets involved, Mysterio gets involved, a bunch of people get involved, and everybody gets involved and has a great time. But I can't see, despite that epic beating that Dominic went through. Oh my gosh, I can't get over that they did that. He went to hell. Not one person coming out to save him. Not one person. Referees coming out and breaking up brawls here and there, but not one person comes out and protects this young wrestler from getting an ass whooping with a kendo stick. Like, I fear that's like borderline abuse.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure how it's going to go down is there's going to be there's obviously going to be some sort of shenanigans with who's on the outside of the ring. I think the ref is going to have to pay attention to Murphy at some point because of something he's trying to do, and Ray is going to take that opportunity, and I think the two of them are going to double 619 Rollins, and then that's how he's going to get the pin.
Yeah, it definitely could happen. This is a tough one for me because also Seth Rollins did beat Rey Mysterio at the previous The Horror Show, so it's tough because he's on a big kick right now. Because you could argue that Seth Rollins beats Dominic here, and then that would be it. Draw a line under it, and he could move back into the title picture too. But then that would make him a face against Randy Orton if Randy Orton wins. But if Drew stays, it could go a few different ways here. I want to say, just for fun, Seth Rollins, and you're going to say Dominic.
Oh, definitely.
And I really, it makes all the sense in the world for Dominic to win too. So I mean, if he wins, I will not be surprised. All right, now we're moving on to the final match of the card, and that is the hair versus hair match between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville over on SmackDown. How has your feelings been about this feud?
It kind of, some parts of it make sense and some parts of it don't. I mean, it's certainly been a while since we've had hair versus hair, so it's an interesting stipulation to begin with. It's hard to say. I'm gonna go with Mandy Rose just because I really like her, and I think she's gonna win. And then, I don't think they would shave her head. It doesn't fit very well, I guess.
She's already had some hair cut off anyway, too. So, I mean, what would that do to Otis's beloved Peach? What would that do to his little Peach? What would that do? Yeah. Well, she might actually look like a peach now.
Fuzzy Peach.
Yeah, Fuzzy Peach. She'd be a Fuzzy Peach. There you go. Oh my gosh. Yeah, with this feud, it's been off and on making sense and not making sense. Now, yes, we all know Sonya Deville said, I'm going to make Mandy Rose as ugly as she is on the inside, on the outside. And you know what? If you turn the clock back, look back at WWE SmackDown and the storyline that they have with Sonya and Mandy Rose and Otis and Dolph Ziggler in the past 6 months. Now, before all this happened, it was Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. They were together. They were a tag team. It was Fire and Desire. Mandy Rose was going around telling people that they're ugly, making sure that nobody looks like her because she's the God's greatest creation, and she's a heel, and she's narcissistic, and she only thinks of herself, or she only ever thinks of her partner. So now we have Otis come into the picture and seeing that Mandy Rose is beautiful despite everything, and Otis slowly changing that heart over. We saw that. She bringing cakes, or my mom made this thing for you, blah 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 blah, and Sonya or Mandy Rose didn't care about getting sweat on her shirt or something like that. Like we really look back at this. So we saw that Sonya Deville was getting jealous of Otis being nice to Mandy Rose, because from Sonya's eyes, nobody should be treating Mandy Rose this night because she's been an awful person within the company. But then it changes with Dolph Ziggler, and then Dolph Ziggler goes to Raw, and then Sonya Deville comes out and says all these things that doesn't make sense about her being this and her being that. And it's like, if you really felt that way all this time, what is going on here is it's core jealousy. If you really look back and look at the feud, Sonya Deville again did say, I want to make her look as ugly as she is on the inside. So chalking to that narcissistic side to her. She's been awful to people. But then at the same time, the only time this came out and Sonya Deville had this character change in opinions of Mandy Rose was when Otis got involved. So that jealousy there. So it's gotten a little lost. But at the same time, Sonya Deville has also defeated her twice, I believe. So I thought the feud was over with. I really did, but they just kept extending it, and all of a sudden she's attacking her backstage, she's cutting her hair off, she almost shaved her head, she's beating her up, rubbed lipstick all over her face. I have no idea. Like, some of it does, as you said, some of it's been making perfect sense, and some of it hasn't. But at the end of the day, I am with you. I think Sonya Deville will win. Or not Sonya Deville, sorry, my bad. Mandy Rose will win. I cannot see Mandy Rose getting her head shaved. With Sonya Deville's character, she's a fighter, it kind of makes more sense if she has short buzz cut kind of thing. We have no idea how it's going to work. Maybe Otis will get involved. Maybe I really don't get it. I really don't get how this is going to go. But yeah, my opinion is that Mandy Rose will win and Sonya Deville will be bald.
And like you said, with her fighter personality or persona, it at least fits. So it could be something they could easily work with, or like do things in the future. Heck, maybe even take her down to Raw Underground and do stuff with her there.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I could definitely see that happening. But just remember that Mandy Rose is no longer God's greatest creation. She is God's greatest soccer mom. And with that, we will wrap things up. Thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find me at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can find us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. Don't forget to follow my co-host James on Twitter at LMP_jam. We will be returning back to predictions in 2 weeks, I believe, when AEW does All Out on September 5th. I believe we're going to be doing predictions on September 3rd, so make sure that is out. And until then, take care of yourselves, be kind to one another. This has been LMP, and we are signing off.